Have you ever been a little bit curious about what all this human design buzz is about? Maybe you're starting to learn about spirituality and ways of being. Maybe you're just a little curious. I have a really incredible guest for you guys today. My friend Adriana Keefe is an award winning real estate dropout turned human design coach and motivational speaker. After her own quarter life crisis, she now helps high achieving women heal their subconscious and become magnetic through their human design. Adriana is a 4-6 manifesting generator, wife, mother to 3 children, lover of wine and new girl, and host of the No BS Human Design podcast. She works with people through speaking events, one-to-one coaching, group coaching, human design chart reading, and the Human Design Society membership community. I love this conversation so much. And in fact, Adriana and I went on to chat for quite a while after this podcast episode, and then kind of kept in touch throughout the day because I just had so many takeaways and walked away with some really cool moments or downloads after chatting with her. So I know you guys are going to enjoy this behind the scenes conversation, and maybe you'll learn a little bit about your human design and want to go deeper. I love Adriana and her energy, and I know that her and I are going to be connected for a very long time. And I'm just getting back from my trip to Business by Design Live. I am feeling all the high vibe energy while simultaneously being very tired and ready for Christmas break. So this will most likely be our final podcast episode until the new year. But we'll see. Sometimes I get like a boost of inspiration. But we are planning on taking a break to really, really slow down and enjoy the holidays. And I hope that you will do the same. So let's go ahead and get started and bring on Adriana. Welcome back to the Messy Success Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Henson, and I help high-performing artists and creative leaders grow and scale communities so that marketing is easy. This podcast combines business tips and real life experiences in being the creative entrepreneur that we all are. So you're in the right place if you want to leave feeling a little bit more confident and normalize these day-to-day struggles that we all experience as business owners. And you can do this while mastering your marketing so that business is light and easy. I'm so glad you're joining me here where we can get a little bit messy, a little bit creative, and it's okay to be super ambitious. Let's get started. All right, Adriana, I am so excited about this conversation and excited to have you here. I have given everyone the fancy introduction, but tell us the fun intro about who you are and who you help.
Oh, the fun one. All right. Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am Adriana Keefe. I'm a human design coach and motivational speaker from Central Massachusetts. If you're familiar with human design, I'm a 4-6 manifesting generator with emotional authority. To other people, that probably means absolutely nothing, but you don't have to worry about that right now. And I teach a lot through the subconscious, a lot of rewiring the subconscious, inner child, shadow, but I use human design as my tool to do so. And really, it's all connected to like manifesting the life that you want for yourself. And I know manifestation is such a buzzword. So to be honest, I moved away from using that term in everything that I was doing until recently when people were like, I didn't recognize that the outcome of all of this work would be me manifesting literally everything I've ever wanted. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you work with the inside and you heal the inside and you raise that energy to match what you want. But on a more personal note, I'm a mom of 3. I'm a wife, animal lover, love the show New Girl, also Schitt's Creek, solid runner up. And like I was telling you before we started recording, I'm a Taurus sun, Scorpio moon, and Leo rising.
Oh my gosh, all the things. Okay,
The
so
things.
tell me a little bit about the numbers with your manifest. So I know I'm a manifesting generator, but I have, when you said the numbers, I'm like, I need to know more. Tell us about the numbers.
Everyone gets really attracted to the numbers. That's called your profile. So for you, you're a 1-3, and I'm a
Okay.
4-6. The first, what a profile really is, it's kind of like your theme of the personality that you have in this lifetime as you walk through finding your purpose and everything that you're here to do. So the first number is a conscious aspect of you. This is what we call your personality line. This is something that when I say it, it's probably going to resonate. And then the second number is more unconscious, more of your design side. And this is something that either you've learned about yourself over time, or people, when people will say things to you that you're like, oh, really? I don't see that in me. That tends to be like the design side or the unconscious. So for me, the 4 means opportunist. This is someone who's actually designed to find the majority of their opportunities through their network. So having a large social influence. Influencer is another term that they use for this, but don't think of it in like the social media way. Like I feel like that's given the term influencer a really different meaning, but really just means that like you have a large social influence and you find your opportunities through that. So really the majority of my business has been built through referrals, um, not so much social media influencing kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then the 6 for me, this is called the role model. This is someone who has very distinct life phases. The first third of their life, so up until about age 30, tends to be really rough and rocky. For me, it was actual trauma and abuse, and you see that quite often. And then the second phase, age 30 or so to 50, is when you really begin to disengage with life and really try and figure out what all of this means for you. So trying to go inward, heal from your trauma, recognize what you can start to teach people. And then 50 and forward is really when you begin to re-engage with life with all that you know. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza or Louise Hay. They are Louise has since passed, line 6s, where you see that they've really stepped into their authority around that age, the older late 40s into the 50s. And this is, the older they get, the more seen as wise instead of weirdos that they are. So role models are really visionaries and leaders, but they have to go through a lot of crap to get there.
Oh my
For
gosh.
you, the 1-3, the 1 is called the investigator. And this is someone who literally like has to dive down the rabbit hole on things. Like you research, you love to read all the things, study, learn, love to learn. And then the 3 is known as the martyr, but like let's take the old terms out of it. Just think of it as experiential. You are here to do trial and error constantly. So you fail a lot, but you succeed a lot because you're resilient, because you get back up and you take the action no matter how hard. And that's kind of what part of your job here is to teach others it's safe to take messy action and tell them what does work and what doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. And something I saw on mine, which I don't really know the fancy stuff for, was like that something about getting frustrated when I'm not in my purpose. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's 100% true. Like I
Yeah.
get very physically, mentally, emotionally frustrated when I'm doing things that just are not in that like true
Yeah.
life's purpose kind of bucket.
Yeah. And that's your not self theme.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it sounds like. When you're out of alignment, I call
Yeah.
it like your red flag. This is what's waving, being like, hey, something's out of alignment here. Did you make a wrong decision? Are you not speaking from integrity? And for people like you and I, the manifesting generators, we feel frustrated when we're out of alignment. For other people, other types, it's actually a different feeling. It could be angry, it could be bitter, it could be disappointed. And so it's interesting to look at it like that, because for people like you and I, we're like, doesn't everyone feel frustrated when this is happening? And that's in fact not the case. That's just what's really accurate for us.
Yeah, kind of how, some people can work a 9 to 5 job. And I mean, I've had my ups and downs with being an entrepreneur. Someone's like, why can't I just be normal?
Yeah.
Right. But like, there is something within me that will not allow me to like kind of stay in one thing. I have to constantly be like learning and evolving.
Mhm.
And yes, I get very frustrated if I feel like I'm being kept small or in a box or like my creativity can't come out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Oh
And
my
just
gosh.
having the awareness around that, just letting yourself go down the rabbit holes, letting yourself take that messy action because that's what you're designed to do. So
Yeah.
just embrace it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I know. I feel like I had kind of like a reaffirming journey recently where like so I have the Messy Success brand, but then I had somehow, listened to people tell me, creatives don't spend money. You need to go to a more affluent audience. So I started working on like building my agency and working with like a more affluent audience and like the money was coming in, but I was like so not happy. And I finally
Mhm.
was like, these are my people. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do is help people do what they love and make a living doing it. And, you know, the money will figure itself out, but like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's like,
Oh
I had to
yeah,
go through
that's
2
just a
years.
limiting belief. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make money doing literally and there's people who make money teaching people how to like pick mushrooms in the woods and like
Yes.
hike. Like that you can make money doing literally anything. It's
Oh
just
my
the
gosh.
mind.
That's so funny. That really is a thing. Oh my gosh.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you said you experienced some trauma. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of like found all of this spirituality and astrology and how you knew that was like the path for you.
Mm. It's interesting because growing up, I was raised in a Catholic Christian household, go to church every Sunday, never resonated with me. So the majority of my life, I considered myself agnostic,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the abuse I had as a child. This is a trigger. So if anyone needs to fast forward like 20 seconds, I'd recommend doing so. I have a history in my childhood of a few years of sexual abuse. And when reaching out for help from a safe adult, nothing was done. It was nope, we don't talk about this. We push this under the rug. We act like our family's perfect, right? And so I just, all of that was trapped in my body for years and years and years. And then later in my late 20s, I was pregnant with my second daughter. This is for people familiar now, probably with like Saturn return around the age of 28 to 32. We are kind of questioning, like, what am I doing with my life? And there's an astrological explanation for that. And this happened to me. It started around age 27 and I just kept feeling like there was this huge missing piece. So I really quote had it all. Like I had the great husband, great career. I was in real estate at the time and I was very successful. We had a house, we were pregnant with our second beautiful child, but there was such a big piece missing and I couldn't pinpoint what that was. And I felt like who am I to ask for more? Like how dare I ask for more? I have everything. This is just me. Something's wrong with me. Why can't I be happy? So I hired my first life coach and then another life coach. Everyone served their most amazing purpose, but it was my third coach and she was a business and life coach, holistic because it's all related, right? That's why I hate labels when someone's like, "What kind of coaching do you do?" I'm like, "Yes." And she introduced me to this thing called human design. And by that time, I had started taking up things like yoga, meditation, some of Joe Dispenza's work, like understanding that there is a little something bigger than I could have ever imagined at play here. And then she pulled up my human design chart, which I was never a fan of personality tests. Excuse me. Because I was like, well, I just answered all the questions that way. Of course, I got that answer. I thought it was so lame. But
Yeah.
this was birth data. This was like she put in my birth information and all the things that populated resonated with me so deeply that it confused me. It said everything that I was fearing about myself. Like, why am I such a quitter? I can't stick with any one thing. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child. So I had a lot of energy. I was always told I was too much, sit down, be quiet. And she literally had this chart in front of me that was like, boom, you're designed to be all these things that you currently hate about yourself. And I was just like, what does this mean on a bigger level? Because if that's right, so there's a huge piece that I'm missing. And that started my work into more of my own body and my own trauma and healing from the way society's conditioned me to be, healing the little me that was still inside, frozen, fearful that she can't feel safe, she can't speak up for herself, all the shit. Oh, sorry, do we swear on this
Yeah,
podcast? I
it's fine.
completely
It's
forgot.
totally fine.
I'm such a potty mouth. All the stuff that we hold in our body because, the generations before us didn't know any better. I have severe anxiety, struggled with depression. And over time, seeing how that was starting to click, seeing how things in my body were changing because of the work I was doing with my human design opened me up even more, like to things like I'm literally holding a crystal in my hand and I have more in my bra. Like that is so, if you would ask me like 6 years ago about crystals, I'd be like, you're a weirdo, go away.
Yeah.
And it just piece by piece, like every new thing that resonated with me, that's the key, is if it resonates with you, it's your time to be curious about it. And if it doesn't, let it go because it'll come back later. Like human design came back to me a couple times before I really picked it up and really dug in. Same with crystals, everything else. So really, I just stayed curious. Like, what would happen if I actually did play around with this? And then manifestation and writing down literal specific manifestations and making a vision board that I pulled out years later when we moved. And I was like, holy crap, I got my dream car. We went to Bora Bora. We flipped a house. I got married. I had a dress that looked just like this, like all of these things. So it was a long process, just taking it day by day and not trying to push too much on myself, just like building a trust muscle with the universe and with my sense of spirituality, and how everything connects. I don't think you can force a sense of faith or spirituality onto anyone because I mean, deep inside your body has to believe. So it was just building that trust muscle and creating the evidence that things were actually all connected.
Yeah, I love that. So just yesterday, I was kind of having this moment of like, my friend was like, I put away money every month for my child's like college fund. And I'm like, my husband and I don't have that. I said, but I know with absolute certainty that like I am capable of building generational wealth for my family. Like I have absolute certainty of that. But and there's this like voice in my head that's like just hustle, like just stay up at night, just figure it out. But then I know like truly that it can't come from a place of like hustle and urgency and scarcity. Like it has to come from like my highest good. Like the best version of me is the only version of me that is going to accomplish that. So it's like this like kind of constant battle of like the new and evolved Liz versus like this voice in my head, probably like what society has taught me, like if you want that result, just stay up late, just wake up early, like, but I just know that that's not the answer for me. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I love that you say that because as I'm looking at your chart, you have a gate is like it's like an energetic trait of yours, like a personality trait. It's also a lesson that you're kind of here to learn and navigate back to it being a part of you. Um and you have gate 2, which is the gate of the direction of self or the gate of receptivity. And this is the most receptive gate in our design in the chart. And it's just having an innate sense of like direction guiding you on your path, always knowing that like you're always going to be receptive and adaptable. And it's just like this inner trust that you can't explain. And
Mm.
it's also in your personality sun, which means it's the biggest driving life force of your chart. Much like in astrology, we all know our sun sign, right? Because it's the biggest. I mean, without getting too scientific, they're called neutrinos that pass through us and imprint us with this information. And sun is about 70% of all of that because it's the biggest one. And so you have that literally as one of the biggest driving forces in your chart. So it's interesting that you said that so quickly already in this conversation. Um, there's a lot of this. I mean, we could go in a million different directions for that question.
I mean,
I
okay. So, and also like recently, I had a really good week, right? Where, I just like, I feel like I manifested like $10,000 in 2 days. And I said, what did I do differently? And I said, I made very quick, intuitive decisions, and I just did exactly what I knew I was supposed to do without like listening to any of the like fear, doubt, scarcity, any of that. But then it's like, then the next week happened and I'm like, how do I stay there? Like I'm learning just enough about myself that I'm getting these kind of like energetic like pops where I'm like, everything is there. And then I fall out of it and I'm like, trying to figure out how to get myself back into it. But I love that
I
you
love
said
that.
like the whole intuitively, like I've always known that I have very like strong intuition,
Mhm.
that is my best guide. It's just like accessing it 24/7, which is probably impossible.
This, well, yes and no. We can always know how to access it, but it's always important to allow yourself to have your bad days too.
Mm,
That's the beef that I have with like super mainstream manifestation is they're like, think positive. You have to be positive. Like, God forbid someone dies or you're really ill.
yeah.
Like you can't expect to be positive all the time, but at a body level, so take your couple of days, you
Yeah.
made $10,000. So at a body consciousness level, your energy has matched the energy of $10,000 in 2 days. And that's not going to just go away if you get really sick and have the flu or someone, God forbid, passes away. Like that doesn't just disappear, your
Mm,
self-worth because
right.
of that, And that's really what's at the basis of everything coming in for you right now. You are currently, this is, some people are going to love this, some people are going to hate this. I have hated it at many points in my life. You're currently an energetic match for where you are in your life, whatever it is, love, money, body image, any of that. And so the best thing that I can say to like, how do I stay in this vibration
Mm,
is I love journaling now. I used to hate journaling. Listen, I'm a busy mom of 3. Don't tell me to sit down and write about my feelings.
yeah.
But it can be like the most simple thing. Like, what did I do today that made a difference? Like answering one question. And over time, you'll have things to reflect on. You
Mm,
can't remember every little thing. And it could have been the smallest tweak. Like, I carried rose quartz on me all day and something shifted, right? Like, building that little pile of evidence for your brain to be like, oh my God, that really clicked, building that trust muscle over and over again, keeping track of your experiment with your energy is going to be really important.
yeah. And I think also like not, it's almost like I have to be content with where I am in every moment versus like I got to get back there. Like me saying
Mm,
I got to get back to that vibration is the same as me saying I got to have more money in the future. Like it's all the same, right?
yep.
Like that
Yep.
need to kind of be somewhere else or like rush things.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's that, man, I'm seeing patterns here because without going too in depth, because I know when I first started hearing about human design, I hated when people would be like, oh, I got this gate number and I have this thing, and I'm like,
No,
what
I
are you
want to know it
talking
all.
about?
Please spill it all.
But in my planet of Mercury, so if you're looking at your human design chart, you'll see planets on either side, and one's your personality, one's your design. And so in my planet of Mercury, I have gate 20, which means I'm here to communicate. Mercury is all about communication, the gift of now, the presence of now.
Mm,
And that's been a huge life lesson of mine with anxiety, very severe anxiety, like in the hospital, like very severe. And it's a thing that I battle most days, honestly, but it's interesting that you're just bringing up the presence of now because the new work that I feel that's kind of coming through me for the next, probably for next year, it has to do with really allowing and helping people to get into what's happening for them right now and the journey of now, because that's, the society we live in is like, what's next, what's next, what's next. This is why we're filled with anxiety and stress every single day. And for me, a lot of my journey has been like that. Let's be right here, right now with my kids. I'm
mhm.
tired and there's a launch going on tomorrow. But you know what? I'm never going to get this moment back right now with my child who's literally throwing magic sand all over the playroom and dumping paint and stomping in it. But you know what? I'm never going to get this back. Let's be right here, right now. And
Yeah.
so I'm recognizing that that's actually a big piece of what I'm here to communicate. So I love that you just brought that up.
Yeah. And I'm finding so much power in like silence as well. Speaking of like being
Mhm.
present, and all of my really clear moments and good ideas like come when I'm allowing myself like silence, whether I'm in the shower, on a walk, not bringing my phone on a walk, things like that. And I think that's such an underrated like thing to just be able
Yep.
to sit in silence and allow your brain to do what it's like meant to do.
1,000%. We're always listening to like podcasts or music. And right now I'm training for a 100-mile ruck. I don't know if you know what a ruck is. It's like a military inspired style hike with everything on your back. And so I'm in the woods a lot during the week and I'm hiking. And when I first started, I would always have a podcast running or whatever. And then I was like, no, I need a little bit of just brain space and silence. So I'll start now the first like 30 minutes or so, just nothing in my headphones and just being in the woods, even if it's like the most random thoughts that don't end up meaning anything to me. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like I'm just being present with like breathing the fresh air and the fact that my legs are moving and able to carry me on this hike. And those, yeah, those moments that we don't stop and appreciate more.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to dive into astrology for just a second. I know nothing about astrology, right? Like I'm like, okay, astrology and crystals will come later. I'm still kind of working on the basics of spirituality here. Like I'm, spirituality curious. But just a few episodes back, me and Sarah Walton,
Oh
um,
yeah.
we were talking about like how we want to know all the things about astrology, but like I don't necessarily want to go do the research. I'm like, I just want like somebody in my business to just tell me how to show up like each day for whatever's happening. So is that a thing? Is that like one of the ways that you help people is like be their astrologist in their pocket? Is that possible?
Um, well, I will start by saying I'm a hobby astrologer. So I don't know, the astrology is not my expertise.
Okay.
However, astrology is a foundation of human design. They go kind of hand in hand. Um, but the thing that I loved about human design was it was much more like, what do I do with this information? And astrology felt very much like, okay, I know this. Now what? Now with astrology, what the way that I what's the word I'm trying to use? The way that I use my astrology is in tarot readings or oracle cards. It's not, for me, astrology is not like a, we just had the eclipse that was in Taurus and Scorpio, which is two of my signs. So for me, that was a little bit more prevalent as far as like releasing emotion and energy. But other than that, on the daily, there's not much about the current astrology that I use daily.
Yeah.
But
I'm a
you
Taurus. So what
can,
does that mean just happened to me?
oh, the eclipse, well, full moons are about releasing
Yeah.
and letting go. And so the eclipse just had some big, big energy. I know there was something around the Chiron, which is like the wounded healer in us, like wounded aspects of our shadow and healing and trauma and all of that. So it wasn't anything that I felt massively change. I just took advantage of the current energy of Saturday night and I wrote down things that I was ready to release and let go of and, burn it and all of that. That's about the greatest extent I currently get with things like eclipse. But for
Yeah.
like astrology, it's more tarot reading and oracle cards and things like that that I find beneficial with my astrology,
Okay. So
which
what else
probably
does
is
my chart say? I know you said it was mostly like the sun. Is there anything else in my chart that you think is valuable for me to pay attention to when it comes to astrology?
well, I mean, with human design, you don't even have to dig into the two separately
Okay.
because everything in astrology is also going to show you it just in a different way in your human design chart.
Okay.
So, with human design, I always recommend starting as high level as possible with like type and authority because this is the thing with astrology, you can start out with like your zodiac sign. And then when you go deeper, you just get like flustered and overwhelmed if you're like me, like this is too much. And human design, I feel like is just more relatable on an everyday basis with how you practice it. So for
Okay.
you, manifesting generator, knowing that you're an energetic being who likes to have a lot of different things going on. The key being that you need to be really lit up and excited by what it is you're doing, or you're not going to create that energy to do it. But
Yes.
you would work from 6 a.m. to midnight if you could on something you love because you're a builder of the world. That's what we're here to do is to create and bring forth all of this stuff.
Mm.
Um, Now, your authority is sacral, which means you have a defined sacral center. The sacral center is your gut response. This
Mhm.
is the yes or no that you just immediately feel from your gut when someone asks you a question. Everyone's like, follow your gut. And that's really not true for everyone, but for people like you and I, it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so your actual decision making process is through your gut. You can be rather quick. It's a yes or it's a no before it goes to the logical thinking mind. We're
Mm.
about getting into the body awareness out of the mind. The mind has no place making decisions when your body literally is connected to everything else in the universe and can help guide you. And I'm sure you have examples of when your mind screwed you up, you did something or didn't do something when your gut was like, do that or don't do that. And
Yes.
then when you follow your gut, it's just so much more in flow. Things happen easier, energetic alignment. So practicing that yes or no, having people in your life ask you yes or no questions instead of open-ended ones, really listening to the gut sounds that are coming out like or like we make
Yeah.
vocal responses. Letting that guide you will definitely be a big piece of that. But really you as a sacral manifesting generator are someone who's here to not force, not initiate and take charge of things. You're simply here to respond, to just
Mm,
wait and see what comes to you, to trust that life is coming to you and say yes or no to those things that are presented to you. And being able to practice it like that for me is more practical than astrology was. So that's why I liked the idea of astrology, but I never caught on fully for me because human design felt so much more easy.
yeah.
Like, oh, I can practice this every day.
Yeah. Like just practice listening to my gut and getting out of my head. And I have a really, really interesting example that I've never thought of that is a good financial example of how when I followed my gut, everything has been fine. So my whole life, like from the time I get kind of had my own finances leaving my parents, like I never had money issues. I'm like a big picture person. I had plenty of money. I spent what I want. I wasn't like, wealthy by any means, like driving a Lamborghini, but I had everything I needed. And then, I got married and started having kids, and everything was still working until it's kind of like now somebody else's like opinions are involved in my financial decisions, and I can't just like follow that gut
Yeah.
anymore. Everything has to be a discussion and a compromise. And like my financial shit started getting all messed up, right? Because it's no
Interesting.
longer just me. And I've always
Yeah.
had this like internal pull, and I do on my business side of things. Like my husband just stays out of it. Like I run my own business finances and everything's fine, and he runs the family, but I still feel like it's this example of where I had to leave my gut and start thinking logically because there's another logical person involved,
Mhm.
that I can't just say my gut instinct is telling me to go buy this thing. Right? But like what an example of like how even our finances are directly, that's because it's all energy,
Mhm.
directly related to us like showing up in this way.
And
Does
it
that
would
make
be
sense?
really beneficial if you knew his chart, because
Yeah.
then you can understand, even if they think you're a total quack for doing this,
Yes.
just being like, can you just let me have this one? Just like trust me on this, that this is the way that I feel in my body resonates with me to make decisions. And, it's not always going to be easy if you have a partner who doesn't agree or feels
Yes.
like it's so weird. But over time, it's you also build their trust muscle the more that you communicate about it. And especially like, hey, look, this one yes that I felt in my gut just made me $10,000.
Yeah.
Just want to slide that in there. So, just having that awareness about each other is
Yeah.
really impactful. In mine and my husband's relationship. He's a sacral generator. I'm an emotional manifesting generator. So my emotions need longer time to make decisions.
Mm,
I have the gut response and I'm very connected to it, but I need to wait for that emotional clarity to decide yes or no. Do I want to commit to this? And it used to show up all the time in our relationship where he, if there were an argument or something, he'd be like in it right now. He wants to figure this out right now. And I'd be like, I need a hot minute to like gain my clarity around my emotions and then we can talk about it. And then over time, learning human design, it made so much more sense. So I highly recommend knowing your partners, knowing your kids, and just
yeah.
starting to play around with it. Just have fun with it.
Yeah. And it can't hurt, right? Like even the people out there, they're like, oh, that's all BS. It's like, okay, well, what is it hurting for me to
Right.
lean into this, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yes. Okay, there was another test I took, and I don't know which one, so that's not helpful, but it was not a personality test. It was again like putting in your birthday and maybe some other information. And this was like a moment, so silly that this was a big moment because it's literally on my phone and I don't even know what test it was. But it said, I know I was a number 11, and it was like, you
Oh,
are the most likely to be a psychic, right? Like you rank the highest likeliness to be a psychic. And I find it was like this moment of like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like I have gifts that I'm not using. You can even probably tell from this conversation, like I have no background in any of this, but I'm obviously very in tune with like my body and my gut and, all of this stuff. Um, So I don't know. Do you know anything about like, do you have any feedback on that? Because I never really looked into
Um,
how to become a psychic, but it's always kind
yeah.
of like,
So was it numerology that you were looking at?
it might have been. I just remember
Okay.
that I was 11 and that I ranked the most likely to be a psychic.
I had a numerologist on my podcast back in like September, I think, and it was one of the highest downloaded episodes. It was because
Really?
it's just it's like using astrology or human design. Like it doesn't matter what tool resonates with you. One of them will, and it's all going to be the same information. So
Yeah.
there's just many tools to do it. So looking at your chart, you have an open head and open ajna center. So the top, like in the chakra system, it's like the crown and the third eye. I have the same thing. And these people with open head, open ajna centers are like literally open-minded. We
Yeah.
are just like, we want to take in all the information. We're the people that tend to be the most curious about the mysteries of life
Yes.
and about what spirituality looks like and channeling. And we are those just naturally very curious people about taking in all the information as far as spirituality. And have you ever heard of the app Gaia? You can like
Mm-mm.
watch TV Gaia. It's so good if you like exploring this kind of thing. It's just like a Netflix kind of app that you can have on your TV and you watch all of the lost continent of Atlantis and like more human design documentaries, like all of that. So you might really like that. Um, but that's something that I just, want to send an awareness reminder. It's just about noticing what you're curious about and following it
Yeah.
because you're curious about something for a reason. That's what has led me to what I'm doing today, which I never expected. I have been channeling spirit for other people on accident, like people I didn't even know. Been reading oracle cards and apparently very intuitive, and have been told by past life readers that I've had these gifts, talents, abilities, whatever, in every life. And the more curious you get, the more that you just keep following those little, that was a gut yes. That made me really curious. The more is going to unfold for you. So I'm
Yeah.
curious over the next couple of years as you dig into this a little bit more and really just play with it, what will come through for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, have you dug into like clairvoyance and like all of that stuff?
Yes and no. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say on a taking courses level,
Yeah.
but I had to last spring, summer, when this stuff started happening to me, I had to start understanding what was happening. And I had to there's this great place up where I live in Massachusetts in the Berkshires called Kripalu. And it's a yoga retreat center, but it's like an expansive, like you'll meet like Akashic record healers there, tarot teachings, like very metaphysical. So I went there for a couple days and I unpacked a lot and I learned a lot. But it's a long journey. You can't force any of this. You just have to learn to be present with it.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so let's go back for anyone listening that might feel like maybe they have, some trauma in their past. What are some steps that they can take, or what do you recommend having gone through that yourself where you've recovered from some trauma and explored, spirituality and how it's helped you like maintain your anxiety around it and all those things? Where does someone
Good question.
begin?
Beginning can be, as I'm going to say, it's simple, but doesn't mean it's easy. Noticing what triggers you.
Mm,
And for example, I recently just worked through a trigger of mine. And it was around I learned later it was around the term annoying. And what happened was there is someone in my world who I've met maybe about a year ago. I thought she was really awesome. And so like I'd invite her to I host entrepreneur dinners here. She's an entrepreneur and I'd invite her. She usually couldn't come. And then I'd invite her to something else. She couldn't come. And then there was another thing that I was like sending her way to invite her to. And this time when she said she couldn't come, it felt like stop asking her, you're annoying her. She did
mm,
not say that. There was nothing about that. And I immediately was like, oh my God, I'm really triggered. What's happening here? So first, just noticing it.
yeah.
What is this trigger? Reflecting on it. If you're a meditator, highly recommend really getting into your body and meditating, seeing if there's any story that comes up there. For me, I find my stories through meditation or hypnosis, things that the subconscious brings up that might feel really weird to you, but I promise you it always has a purpose. And what came up for me in this one, it was like seemingly smallest story that it could have been. It was not my deep rooted abuse and trauma. This was around in middle school when I called one of the popular girls to hang out because I thought we were friends, and then you could hear her in the background not wanting to take the phone from her mom. And that apparently sat with me my
Mm.
entire rest of my life. And that's why a part of the reason why I was always triggered around not asking people to do things, because for most of my life up until last year, I literally would not talk to anyone. I kept to myself. I was very reserved. I didn't ask anyone because I didn't want to be turned down or feel like I was annoying, right? And so I started actually going out of my way to ask people. And this annoying trigger kept coming up. And then within 3 weeks, I really reflected on it. And I use what's called emotional freedom technique. I don't know if you've ever heard of tapping. It's like
Mhm.
tapping on the acupressure points and the meridians in your body. And I use that myself and with my clients to release old trauma and stories. And within like 3 weeks, I all of a sudden noticed that a similar situation happened and I wasn't triggered. And what
Mhm.
else happened was that this person who I'm talking about started reaching out to me and talking to me and sending invitations my way. And so, really, the story that I had in my head was not accurate at all. But the universe was really like, you need to clear this trigger. You like it was testing me, right? It's like, where is your self worth located? And once I did, the energy was in such alignment where she started reaching out to me and thinking of me. And so, basically, my process, if I can make it as like superficial as I can, would be to create awareness around the triggers, just noting them, not
Yeah.
judging, just writing it down, not shaming yourself. When you have the space and the capacity to go back and revisit them, whether in meditation or hypnosis or emotional freedom technique, if you feel like you don't meditate well, you can use things like tapping to locate the deep rooted story, and then continuing to tap and reflect and journal on what you want that story to mean and how you can release what it actually doesn't have to mean.
Mm.
And then over time, when you see it start to dissipate, you see the things in your life actually manifesting as the way you want them to be. So it's all energy related. Did that all make sense?
Yeah, no, that's so good. And I think for anybody listening, it's kind of like whether you believe in any of this or not, it's like having the openness to see how beautiful it is to free yourself of something that's a trigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like what does it matter the route that we take to get there, but just having some tools in your toolbox on how to like stop that from happening, like how beautiful is that we as humans
Mm-hmm.
like can do that, right? What
We
an
can.
opportunity.
And I should add in there, like, I always work with my therapist as well.
Yeah.
I am never going to say that my work takes place of therapy. It does not. And I do
Yeah.
not do things like EMDR like my therapist can. And EMDR has played a big role in my life through my abuse and trauma. So especially when you're working on triggers, things can get heavy without you knowing they're going to get heavy. I mean, you're peeling back layers there, man. So if you hit something where you're like, this feels like too much, immediately seek help, seek someone to help guide you through it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's so good. Um, I just did a podcast episode on like kind of just some random reflection that I did. This one wasn't prompted. My coach does a lot of stuff with us on how to like rewrite our stories, but there was a common theme where like my ambition was annoying people, right?
Mm,
Like, oh, we don't want to be that good, or we don't want to be like you, or like you talk about work and business too much. And I looked back like all the way back to like college and high school on like these examples where like my ambition was like getting in the way, right?
hmm
And I would see these patterns of like times in my life where I struggled, and it's because I was like trying to shrink that ambition to like fit in or to be liked or
Yeah.
to people please. And when I look at all the times in my life where I've thrived, it's because like I'm leaning into the ambition and the
hmm
desires.